The Edmonton Oilers are continuing to shuffle and make moves, and here was a trade. They pick up Jason Dickinson from Chicago and Colton Dach as well for Andrew Mangiapane. There was some talk, they couldn't move him, and they put him on waivers. Eventually, now he goes to Chicago, and then a conditional first-round pick in 2027.
A shocking roster move just landed inside the locker room of Connor McDavid. The NHL trade deadline chaos suddenly delivered 2 new players to the Edmonton Oilers, while another forward and a future first-round pick disappeared from the roster. League insiders quickly confirmed the deal, but the full impact of this trade and why it happened right now began unfolding in ways many fans did not expect.
You ready for the playoffs again and make a run?
Yeah, very happy with the moves. I think all the guys we brought in, all 3 of them from Chicago there, are good adds. Obviously Murph with his size and defense hard, and same with Dickinson and Dach, obviously a young guy that plays physical, plays with an edge, and still trying to find his way in this league, and he's got lots of potential. So.
The transaction became official after reports confirmed a trade between the Edmonton Oilers and the Chicago Blackhawks. Edmonton acquired forward Jason Dickinson and forward Colton Dach. Chicago received Andrew Mangiapane and a conditional first-round draft pick in the 2027 NHL Draft. The deal arrived only days before the NHL trade deadline. Reuters reported the exchange clearly. The report stated, quote, Edmonton acquired forwards Jason Dickinson and Colton Dach from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for forward Andrew Mangiapane and a conditional 2027 first-round pick, end quote. The announcement immediately placed attention on the Oilers roster surrounding captain Connor McDavid. Jason Dickinson joined Edmonton as the veteran piece of the trade. The 30-year-old forward spent the 2025-2026 season with Chicago before the move. During that season, he recorded 13 points in 47 games. His total included 6 goals and 7 assists. Dickinson is known across the league for his defensive role and penalty-killing minutes. Reuters described his role in simple terms. The report stated, quote, Dickinson 30 is valued for his defensive play and penalty-killing ability, having logged over 100 shorthanded minutes in 4 consecutive seasons. Penalty-killing minutes measure how often a player is trusted when his team is down a skater. Dickinson has played several seasons in the NHL before arriving in Edmonton. His career began with the Dallas Stars. Later, he played with the Vancouver Canucks before joining Chicago. Across 549 career NHL games, he recorded 168 total points. The second player in the trade is Colton Dach. Dach entered the league as a younger forward, still developing at the NHL level. The 23-year-old center played his first full season with Chicago during the 2025-2026 campaign. During that season, he recorded 9 points in 53 games. The Oilers sent Andrew Mangiapane to Chicago in return. Mangiapane had joined Edmonton after previous seasons with the Calgary Flames and the Washington Capitals. Earlier in his career, he produced one of the highest scoring seasons of his career during the 2021-2022 NHL season. During that season with Calgary, Mangiapane scored 35 goals. However, his scoring totals declined in recent seasons. During the current year with Edmonton, he recorded 14 points in 52 games before the trade occurred. Andrew Mangiapane's recent production became a major factor in the trade. During the 2025-2026 season with Edmonton, he recorded 7 goals and 7 assists across 52 games. His total reached 14 points before the transaction occurred. Earlier in his career, he had produced far higher scoring numbers. Reuters explained the change in production directly. The report stated, quote, a 35-goal scorer in 2021-2022 with the Calgary Flames, Mangiapane, has seen his point totals decline over the past 4 seasons. End quote. That decline became part of the roster decision that followed. Just days before the trade was confirmed, Mangiapane had already been placed on waivers by Edmonton. Waivers allow other NHL teams to claim a player's contract. No team submitted a claim during that waiver period, and soon after the trade discussions with Chicago moved forward. Another key detail involved the contract attached to Jason Dickinson. Chicago agreed to retain half of Dickinson's salary as part of the transaction. His contract carries a $4.25 million average annual value. Retaining 50% lowers the salary cap cost for Edmonton. Sportsnet reported the retained salary directly. The report stated that the Blackhawks are, quote, retaining 50% of Dickinson's salary, end quote. Salary retention is allowed under NHL rules, and teams can keep up to half of a contract when completing a trade. This trade did not happen alone. It followed another transaction between the same 2 teams earlier in the week. On March 2, Edmonton acquired defenseman Connor Murphy from Chicago. In that earlier deal, the Oilers sent a second-round pick in the 2028 NHL Draft to the Blackhawks. The 2 trades occurred during the same week as the NHL trade deadline approached. That deadline determines which players can compete in the Stanley Cup playoffs. After the deadline passes, teams cannot add new players for postseason play. Reuters described the timing of the second trade with a clear statement. The report explained that it was, quote, the second trade between the Blackhawks and Oilers this week. The sequence created 2 roster changes for Edmonton within a short period. Dickinson and Dach joined the Oilers roster immediately after the deal was finalized. Mangiapane moved to Chicago along with the future first-round pick. The salary retention clause and draft condition were included in the final terms of the agreement. The league transaction record then listed the trade among the official moves completed before the deadline period closed.
I think they were already sellers, Anson, but I think the way this week has gone, it has the Maple Leafs even considering not just the UFAs, but some of their longer contracted players. I think if people have ideas, they want to call them, just call them and they'll listen to what you have to say. I think they've been very disappointed by the way this year has gone, and they're willing to listen maybe on some things that they wouldn't have been willing to listen on earlier in the year.
A quiet sentence on national television just changed the Maple Leafs' entire trade deadline picture. Elliotte Friedman revealed that Toronto is no longer thinking small. The front office is widening its scope, and more names are now in play than expected. Core stars are not included, but the list is growing, and what that means behind closed doors is only starting to surface. Elliotte Friedman delivered the update during Saturday headlines on Sportsnet. He reported that the Toronto Maple Leafs are expanding what they are willing to consider before the March 6 NHL trade deadline. The original expectation was simple. Toronto would evaluate pending unrestricted free agents and decide whether to move. That plan has now shifted. Friedman said the word around them is they are widening their scope of what they would consider. That statement confirmed the organization is no longer focused only on expiring contracts. The front office is now discussing players who have term remaining on their deals. This changes the trade structure. Players with term often carry more value because acquiring teams control them beyond the season.
He's the captain of the Senators. He's a great captain for the Senators. He's not going anywhere. Austin Matthews, the one thing I can tell you about Matthews is, right before the Olympics, the Maple Leafs called Matthews and his representation, and they said, if we take a step back, and they knew that this was coming even before this week, which has really been ugly for them. If we take a step back, are we going to have a problem with Austin for next year? And they were told, no, there won't be an issue with Austin for next season at that time, right before the Olympics. So they're not looking to move Austin Matthews. I don't think they're looking to move Nylander.
Friedman also made a firm clarification. He stated, I do not think it is anything like Matthews or Nylander. I do not think we are talking about anything like that. That removes Austin Matthews and William Nylander from speculation tied to this report. Both players are under long-term contracts, and their names are not part of the widened discussions described on air. The deadline is set for March 6 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That leaves only days for decision. When a team broadens its scope this close to the deadline, it signals active conversations with multiple clubs. Trade talks expand when management evaluates more than rental pieces, and that is what Friedman's update indicates.
Could you see something like that? Maybe a Kiefer Sherwood, a Bobby McMahon, and getting a very, very cheap, under $2 million 20-goal scorer?
Yes, I do think that they could look for a depth forward that fits cap-wise, 100%. Now, historically, they don't like rentals. That has been their play. They don't like guys who are rentals. Sherwood would be a rental. McMahon would be a rental.
One player discussed directly was Bobby McMahon. McMahon is a pending unrestricted free agent. Friedman said McMahon could go either way. He added that the fact McMahon remains with Toronto suggests no offer has yet met the team's expectations. That places his situation in a flexible category. He could stay or he could move, and no final decision has been reported. Friedman also mentioned defenseman Oliver Ekman-Larsson in relation to possible league interest. He said the Edmonton Oilers are looking at options on defense and at center depth. Ekman-Larsson is under contract beyond this season, which fits the widened scope Friedman described. It shows that teams are asking about players with control beyond one playoff run. This development comes while Toronto sits outside a strong playoff position. Recent losses have tightened the race in the Eastern Conference. Teams in that position often reassess strategy. Expanding trade discussions can serve 2 purposes. It can reshape the current roster, and it can also address longer-term salary structure. Defense discussions are part of that picture. Friedman noted that Edmonton is looking for a right-shot defenseman or a third-line center. He linked Oliver Ekman-Larsson to league interests, pointing out that Ekman-Larsson has experience playing the right side. Ekman-Larsson is signed beyond this season, and his contract status aligns with a broadened strategy. Morgan Rielly's name also surfaced during the segment. Rielly carries a no-movement clause in his contract, and that protection limits trade flexibility. Friedman said he was not certain whether Rielly had been formally discussed, but added that Toronto is considering more things. That statement reflects a wider evaluation of roster options, even if restrictions apply. The Maple Leafs general manager Brad Treliving now faces limited time. The NHL trade deadline remains fixed at 3 p.m. Eastern on March 6, and trades completed after that time are not permitted for postseason eligibility. That firm deadline increases pressure in the final days. Phone calls intensify and offers change quickly. Reports indicate Toronto has struggled since the Olympic break, which has influenced how the front office views its position. When results decline close to the deadline, management often studies whether to sell assets, retain players, or adjust long-term planning. Expanding discussions suggests a broader internal review. Players with expiring contracts still remain part of the process. Bobby McMahon's situation remains unresolved. Friedman's statement that McMahon could go either way shows no final direction has been chosen, and that flexibility can shift quickly if another team presents an offer that meets Toronto's valuation. This approach does not confirm a rebuild, and it does not confirm a blockbuster. It confirms activity. Friedman's on-air update establishes that Toronto is listening on more names than previously reported, and that includes players signed beyond this year. It excludes core stars such as Austin Matthews and William Nylander, and it places the organization in an active negotiating position days before the deadline. With the scope widened and time running short, league executives now monitor Toronto closely. Conversations continue behind closed doors, and decisions must come before the clock stops.
Breaking now at noon, Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby is officially out. KDKA sports reporter Cassidy Wood is here in the studio with us this afternoon. Cassidy, this isn't just 1 or 2 games without Sid.
Yeah, that's right, Barry. Unfortunately, Sid will miss a minimum of 4 weeks now. Just not the news we wanted to hear today as the Penguins.
More bad news has just hit Sidney Crosby, and this time it could shake the entire Penguins season. The Olympic injury that forced him out of the gold medal game is now confirmed to sideline him for weeks. Pittsburgh has placed its captain on injured reserve. The timing is critical, the impact is immediate, and the consequences are still unfolding.
The Penguins return to the ice tomorrow after the Olympic break without Sidney Crosby. Crosby is out for at least 4 weeks. Fans have been waiting for news on his status since he was hurt while playing on the Canadian Olympic team.
Yeah, it really is, Christine. You know, especially when you consider that Sidney Crosby has really been an Iron Man for the last 4 years for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has missed only 2 of their last 300 games, but that now is going to change today.
The Pittsburgh Penguins confirmed that Sidney Crosby will miss a minimum of 4 weeks because of a lower body injury. The injury happened during the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. Crosby was hurt in Canada's quarterfinal game against Czechia. He left the ice late in the second period after getting tangled along the boards and did not return to the game. After evaluation, the Penguins placed Crosby on injured reserve. The team announced the move following his return from Italy. Being placed on injured reserve means Crosby cannot play during this recovery period, and the team can adjust its roster while he heals. The 4-week timeline is the minimum. His status will depend on medical evaluations in the coming weeks. Crosby did not play in Canada's semifinal game against Finland. He also missed the gold medal game against the United States. Canada went on to lose the final 2-1 in overtime. Before the injury, Crosby recorded 6 points in 4 Olympic games. He was serving as captain of Team Canada during the tournament. After the gold medal game, Crosby spoke about the injury. He said he was pretty close to playing, but ultimately could not go. He also said he did not have an issue with the hit that led to the injury. According to reports, he credited the medical staff in Italy for giving him a chance to attempt a return. At the time of the injury, Crosby was leading the Penguins in scoring this season. Before the Olympic break, he had 27 goals and 32 assists in 56 games. Despite his age, he has remained one of Pittsburgh's top offensive producers. The Penguins entered the Olympic break with a 29-15-12 record. They were sitting in second place in the Metropolitan Division with 70 points. The team now faces a tight schedule over the next several weeks. Reports indicate Pittsburgh has 26 games remaining in the regular season, including a stretch of 15 games during the next 4 weeks, while Crosby is expected to be out. The following day, Canada's head coach said it was too soon to confirm Crosby's availability for the semifinal. Crosby did not dress for the semifinal matchup against Finland. Connor McDavid took over captain duties in his absence. Canada advanced to the gold medal game, but Crosby was again ruled out before the final against the United States. The United States defeated Canada 2-1 in overtime to win the gold medal. Crosby watched from the sidelines. His Olympic tournament ended with 6 points in 4 games. Those numbers included goals and assists from the opening round games before the injury. His absence in the medal rounds changed Canada's lineup structure. After returning to Pittsburgh, Crosby underwent further evaluation by the Penguins medical staff. The team confirmed the lower body injury and announced the minimum 4-week recovery recovery period. Placement on injured reserve gives the organization roster flexibility, but confirms he will miss multiple regular season games. The timing affects a demanding portion of the Penguins' schedule. Pittsburgh reserve. They also acquired defenseman Samuel Girard in a trade earlier this season, adding depth to the blue line. This marks one of the first Olympic tournaments with full NHL player participation since 2014. Crosby has a long Olympic history. He scored the gold medal winning goal for Canada in 2010. In 2026, he again served as team captain. His tournament ended early due to injury. Crosby is in the 21st season of his NHL career. He remains under contract with Pittsburgh and continues to produce at a point-per-game pace. His recovery timeline now becomes central to the Penguins' playoff positioning. Medical evaluations will determine when he can resume skating in practice. For now, Pittsburgh prepares to compete without its captain during a stretch that could define its season.
Yeah, Canada comes back. Yeah. They tie it in the second period, and then in overtime, it's Jack Hughes for the USA. Unbelievable.
It's so fitting that the game went to overtime because both of these teams, the favorites coming into the tournament, were pushed to overtime earlier in the week in the quarters. So, I mean, I was hoping it would go to overtime for extra.
The golden goal ended a 46-year wait, and the celebration was loud. The images of Jack Hughes without his front teeth spread across the world within minutes, and less than 24 hours after overtime in Canada, Hughes delivered an update that shifted the focus away from the medal onto his condition. And that update carried consequences beyond the Olympic stage. Jack Hughes scored the overtime winner against Canada in the Olympic men's hockey final, and the goal secured the United States' first Olympic gold medal in men's hockey since 1980. The game ended in sudden death, and the final score was 2-1. One shot decided the championship as Hughes received the puck, released a quick shot, and beat the Canadian goaltender, and officials confirmed the goal immediately while Team USA left the bench in celebration. The victory ended a 46-year gold medal drought for U.S. men's hockey, and the last Olympic gold came in 1980 at Lake Placid. That team defeated the Soviet Union before winning gold, and this time, National Hockey League players led the roster, and Hughes' overtime goal placed him at the center of that historic moment. But the game carried another turning point earlier in regulation when Hughes lost multiple teeth after contact near the net. Broadcast footage showed visible damage and blood appeared on the ice as he skated to the bench for treatment, and medical staff evaluated him before he later returned to the game. There was no report of a concussion, and the injury involved dental trauma. Images of Hughes smiling without several front teeth spread across media platforms within minutes, and the moment became part of the Olympic coverage. Despite the injury, he continued to take shifts, and he did not leave the game permanently, and his return set up the final sequence in overtime. After the game, Hughes addressed reporters, and according to coverage from Sports Illustrated, he confirmed the damage and said, "I will get them fixed." That short statement carried weight because it confirmed that dental repair would be required, and it ended speculation about whether the injury was minor, since it was not temporary and it required follow-up treatment. Olympics.com reported that Hughes laughed off missing teeth after scoring the golden goal, and the article described him smiling during celebrations despite the visible loss of teeth. The report focused on the sequence from injury during regulation to return to play, and then the overtime winner, and that timeline became central to the story. A New Jersey oral surgeon later spoke to NJ Monthly about dental trauma in hockey, and the surgeon explained that injuries involving lost teeth often require procedures such as implants or reconstructive work. While the surgeon did not treat Hughes directly, the explanation outlined the seriousness of such damage, and dental replacement is not immediate because it involves planning and medical care. The celebration on the ice continued long after the overtime goal, as Hughes skated with teammates, held the American flag, and wore the gold medal during the ceremony, while cameras continued to capture his missing teeth. The images symbolize both victory and injury, but the story did not end with the medal presentation. The focus shifted quickly after the medal ceremony, and attention moved from the overtime replay to Hughes' condition as his statement, "I will get them fixed," confirmed that dental procedures were ahead. That meant medical appointments and recovery steps, and it also meant questions about timing as the National Hockey League season prepares to resume. Hughes plays for the New Jersey Devils in the National Hockey League, and the Olympic tournament paused the NHL regular season while players are expected to return to their teams after international competition ends. Any confirmed injury draws attention, especially when it involves a top scorer, and dental trauma does not always prevent play, but treatment can require multiple visits. Sports Illustrated reported that Hughes shared a broken teeth update following the gold medal win, and he acknowledged the damage publicly, while the outlet confirmed he would undergo dental repair. No official timeline was provided in that report, and there was no announcement of missed games at that time, and the confirmed fact remained the need for corrective work. Newsweek also reported on Hughes' media appearance after the victory, and during one exchange, he shut down an awkward question from a reporter, and the interaction was brief. It redirected attention to hockey matters, and the report described the moment as firm and controlled, while that exchange circulated across social media and became part of the wider coverage around him.